I want to start with something that I used to believe, something that at the time felt completely true. I used to think that peace was something you earned. Like there was a version of life where if you just worked hard enough at fixing things, healing things, holding everything in place, and not letting anything slip, life would come, tap you on the shoulder, and say, "There, you made it. Here is your peace." I kept waiting for that moment, but it never came, which honestly feels a little rude considering all of the effort I was putting in. Because what I didn't understand then was that some of us don't start from a place of peace. We start from a place of survival. From learning how to read a room before we even know why we're doing it, to figuring out how to stay safe in environments that didn't always feel safe, to carrying ourselves in ways that looked like strength but felt like tension. And when that is your baseline, peace doesn't feel natural. Sometimes it feels wrong, which is a really strange realization to have when all you actually want is a break. There was a time in my life where everything looked peaceful. Marriage, kids, a functioning adult. I could show up, get through the day, get things done. I was very good at functioning. Gold star, 10 out of 10. To the outside world, I was crushing it. Internally, not so much. You see, 27 years ago, my 18-month-old daughter, Morgan, died. And there is no clean way to explain what that does to you. There's no version of peace there. Just everything unravels. And the ground drops out from underneath you. And what I realized, sadly, was that I wasn't as in control as I thought I was. And so, you try to get it back. Not in big, obvious ways, in small ways. You stay ahead of things. You learn to read people. You anticipate when things might go wrong so you can stop it. And for a while that worked, until it didn't. Because internally, everything was tight. My body was always just a little bit ahead of me, like it was preparing for something I couldn't see yet. My mind was always racing. My body couldn't relax, and I didn't know how to turn that off. Oh, I could answer emails, and I could make dinner. I could even hold a full conversation with someone and look completely present. But meanwhile, I was running 10 steps ahead in my mind, making sure nothing went wrong. And if you've never felt that in your body, when somebody says, just relax, sounds like really great advice. But if you have, it doesn't. And then life did what life does. 16 years ago, everything I was managing finally caught up to me. I was in the middle of my second divorce, and I had almost nothing left in my tank. There was no plan, there was no safety net. All I had was a kind of exhaustion that didn't look dramatic, but it just made everything feel heavier than it should. And oh, I was angry, not the loud anger, the quiet kind that sits underneath and changes how you experience the world. And I was alone, or at least it felt like it. And when everything feels like that, you stop looking for a plan and you start reaching for something, anything, to make the next hour a little more manageable. And for me, that something was a dog, which, according to everybody in my life at the time, was a terrible idea. They are too much responsibility. You need to take care of yourself. You're too unstable. All very valid points, but didn't stop me. Because you see, at some point, survival turns into this kind of stubbornness that doesn't really care about good advice. So I walked into our local shelter, and there he was. 110 pounds of muscle, tension, and a very clear boundary with the world. He was a big red dog. His name was Thunder. And he had a sign on his kennel that said, "Do not approach, do not touch." Which for most people would be a warning. For me, it felt familiar. Because I knew what it was like to live like that. Closed off, on edge, always waiting for something to go wrong. When I went to see the shelter manager, she told me, he's not adoptable. He's too aggressive, and he's due to be put down in 3 days. I said, well, I want him. And they said, no. I said, please, just give me some time. Just let me try. And for some reason that I still do not understand, they agreed. So I went back twice a day and just sat outside his kennel. And he didn't even look at me. He just stayed in the back, not moving, just watching, waiting. And I remember sitting there thinking, yeah, I get it, buddy. I don't trust this either. Over time, he stopped bracing every time I sat down. It wasn't some big cinematic turning point. There were no angel choirs. It was just less tension, less reactivity, less distance. And I was finally able to quietly interact with him, which was enough for the shelter to agree to let me take him home. Now, when I tell you this dog was a disaster, I say it with a lot of compassion, but also complete honesty. He did not trust people. He reacted fast. And he was always scanning, always ready. And if I'm being 100% honest with you, that made two of us. And then came the moment. I was in my kitchen, making a cup of coffee, doing that thing we do where we try to keep moving so we don't have to feel anything too deeply. And I dropped a dish towel. That's it. One dish towel. Certainly not a life event, but took me out. I collapsed. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Everything that had been barely held together finally snapped. And Thunder? He didn't run. He didn't bark. He didn't make it bigger than it needed to be. He stood up, walked over, and laid that giant red head of his in my lap and just stayed. He showed up for me the way I showed up for him. Patience, presence. And right there on that kitchen floor, I realized something. It's not that I had lost my peace. I never had it. And for the first time, nobody was telling me to calm down, to get over it, to clean yourself up and move on. Just stayed with. And I couldn't outrun that feeling. I couldn't control my way out of this. All I could do was just feel it. And that is when everything started to change. Peace wasn't something I could just get to. It was something I had to learn. And not in moments where it was calm, because I didn't struggle in calm. I could do calm. But the moment something shifted, something small, something unexpected, that is where I needed to practice. Because the part that no one tells you is you don't practice peace when everything is quiet. You practice it in the chaos. In the moment your body decides something is wrong, even if nothing is. You have to stop. Pause. Decide, am I going to go the way I always go? Or am I going to do something different? And that is how it shows up. Not as a feeling, but as a choice. For example, sometimes it's noticing when something's happening before it gets worse. Maybe it's breathing instead of reacting. Maybe sometimes it's not saying anything at all, which for me took some training. So I started paying attention, not to Thunder at first, but to me, to what was happening inside my body before he reacted, and how quickly I moved into control when things felt uncertain. I started noticing that the more I tried to control him, the worse he got. The more I regulated myself, the more he changed. When I slowed down, he softened. When I breathed, he settled. And when I stopped pushing, he stopped pushing back. And that's when it became very clear that this wasn't just about working with a dog. It was about relationship. Because whether it is a dog or a person, we don't respond to what's happening on the surface. We respond to what's happening underneath it, the tension. And when you are not at peace within yourself, that tension shows up even if you don't say a word. And I started to see it everywhere, in conversations, in how quickly things would escalate when they didn't need to. And it wasn't because people were trying to hurt each other. It was because there was already tension underneath. Now, these changes didn't happen all at once. My life didn't suddenly get perfectly peaceful. It was just the more that I did that, the more I realized I didn't have to be okay, or everything didn't have to be okay for me to be okay in it. And not because life got easier. I still have moments where it's too much. Things go sideways. Everything kind of piles up. But again, I realized I'm in control of making the decision. So peace isn't something you earn when you fix everything. It's something you practice, not perfectly, not always, just again and again and again. Thank you.